Hey, welcome to the inaugural Rocked On Detroit Lions NFL Draft Live Show 2023. I'm with my co-host here, Andy, but before Andy says hi, I just got to tell y'all, we are so excited for tonight. It's been 4 months of waiting since the Super Bowl, but we're here now. We're expecting a lot of excitement tonight, some major moves, and of course, Brad Holmes, the chess master himself. He's going to knock it out the park again, guys. We're going to have an awesome night. I can't wait to get to pick six if we stay at pick six. But let me turn it over to Andy for a second. And Andy, what has you excited for tonight other than being a Detroit Lion fan?
Well, you said it just right there. What's got me excited is that I think you, me, every other Detroit Lions fan has been waiting for today for months now. I'm excited to see what our evil masterminded GM genius Brad Holmes has got up his sleeve. I'm high on my picks of who I think the Lions should take. I'm also high on who I don't think they should take. You and I have talked about this a few times in friendly disagreement. I'm excited for tonight. Every NFL draft is exciting. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight, Will. It's going to be amazing. And anyone who's coming on right now, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for everybody. We got a few comments already. We're going to jump into them real quick and see how we're doing. So we got Jeff. Hey, we're looking forward to tonight. Absolutely, Jeff. We're definitely looking forward to it. It's going to be a fun night. Aaron, I'm not even going to butcher your last name, buddy. Aaron K says D-line at 6, please. We don't know. Who knows what Brad's going to do? And then Carrie Crump says, let's go Lions. You're damn right. Let's go Lions. All right. So we're going to kind of kick it off tonight and wind back a little bit. We've had an interesting offseason. We've had an interesting week with everything that kind of came down just a few nights ago. And I think that's where we're going to start. We're going to be brief. The whole Jameson Williams thing has kind of been kicked like a dead horse all week long. So we're going to be brief about it. We just feel it needs to be talked about one last time tonight because there could be a few implications from this. Then again, maybe not. We have to, keep it in the back of our minds that we're mostly fans. And even though we're new to the media space, we're not insiders. So we don't know everything that's going on in Allen Park. And I don't think anybody in this country knows what's going on in Brad Holmes' head. So very quickly, Jameson Williams, Stanley Berryhill were among 4 Lions that were targeted in an NFL probe for gambling. There was also a plethora of Detroit Lions staffers that were fired last March. And that leads me to believe that Brad Holmes has known this entire time over the last month or so that he's had to either modify his draft plans or it was not going to be affected at all. And he already had his mind made up. What are these implications? Am I happy about what happened with Williams? Absolutely not. I don't think anybody is. And we're not going to discredit, his immaturity and his mistake as a young player. It just shouldn't happen. But let's get into the semantics of it a little bit. Williams, he signed a 4-year, $17.46 million contract in 2022 as a rookie with a 5th-year option that was afforded to the Detroit Lions. So far, we've gotten 6 games out of him. After he serves his suspension, he will be off for an entire season. The Lions expected a redshirt season. We knew that was coming. He was injured. He had to go through rehab. We got him back for 6 games last season, but now he's gone for another 6. What does it mean? Well, immediately he's going to lose almost $400,000 in salary for missing 6 games this season. There's a potential forfeiture of another $862,179 that the league will review if the Lions are able to, take that money back from him or not. The biggest thing that has come down for Jameson Williams is that the rest of his contract guarantees are void, which means now it's kind of shit or get off the pot, man. You've got to play, to get paid now. And I have no doubt in my mind that once he's back and he's healthy, he's going to perform, and that's what we're looking forward to. That's really all I have to say on the issue. I'm not going to get into the rest of it. It really sucks that CJ Moore is gone. He was our special teams ace, and he's going to be a hard one to replace. It was a very affordable contract, 2 years, $4.5 million. Quintez Cephas, I don't think that he was going to do much. I was hopeful, but no love lost there. And quite honestly, I really don't even know who Stanley Berryhill is. I haven't seen anything of him yet, so I don't know what kind of player he is. But that's it. That's all I got on that issue. Do I feel like it's going to impact our draft? For me, it did. For my mock drafts, it did. But for Brad Holmes, I don't think it impacts a thing. What do you got to say on the issue, Andy?
Well, I don't like beating this one into the ground either myself, but I was on the Jameson train since the day he got drafted by us. Those few games that he played, the one catch he made, when he made that catch, I think every Lions fan who watched that game could see his lightning speed. That guy I've never seen in my lifetime of watching a receiver run that fast. He was absolutely blistering. I have a lot of high hopes for the kid. I don't want to judge him completely. He's a young kid, made a mistake. The biggest issues I have, though, he is showing how immature he is. I looked at how he acted last year on the field. Kind of looked like he was throwing some temper tantrums. And then he gets the suspension, and then not even 24 hours later, he's on Instagram in Vegas at a fight, which I just really think that after you get a suspension like that, you got to be a little bit smarter about it. I'm not going to discredit the kid. I still think he has a lot of hope. I think he can be the next biggest thing, not only for the Lions, but just in wide receivers in general, for the sport of football and the NFL. When he comes back, he's going to be rusty. I think him and Goff are going to have to start over again with finding some chemistry, but I think down the road he's going to be fine. But this one needs to be put to bed because it is what it is. He made a mistake. I hope he gets more mature as the season starts to go on, and we'll see what happens from there, Will.
I couldn't agree more. I think the biggest detriment to this issue that the Lions are facing is the lost ability to practice together. He's not going to be able to be with the team or in the facility for a minimum of 3 weeks, the first 3 weeks of his suspension. He gets to practice and play throughout the summer, through preseason. He gets to be there. But from what I've read and from what I understand, that once the suspension kicks into place, he's not allowed to be anywhere near the facility or traveling with the team. That's going to hurt them the most because they're going to build up all of this continuity. They're going to be able to gel throughout the summer. They're going to start clicking, in their routes, and then he's going to disappear again. So that's a hard one to swallow. But let's move on from that one, unless you have anything else you want to add. We're going to jump right into the best news I've heard almost all season long, and that is Aaron Rodgers exits the NFC North as a loser. So Rodgers. Oh, hey, before I forget, everybody, make sure you guys grab a can of Coke. They are supporting the Detroit Lions now, our new sponsor. Make sure you guys get your Coke. No, this is not a paid advertisement, and they're not sponsoring me whatsoever. I wish they would. But Rodgers finished his career in Lambeau with a loss at the hands of the Detroit Lions last season, and Kirby Joseph. Kirby Joseph finished him off with another interception, 3 on the season, which set a rookie record. And nobody's ever picked off Aaron Rodgers that many times in one season, let alone a rookie picking off a quarterback that many times in one season.
And it was beautiful.
It was absolutely beautiful. Aiden Hutchinson, he picked off Rodgers last season. He also scored a couple of sacks to finish off the final game. But I couldn't say more to finish off, the Lions' incredible run that season the right way. And there's only one way to send him off. And that's right here.
Game over. Boys, let's get out of here. Packers denied.
The Packers were denied, baby.
Denied.
We're coming back for them again this season. We're going to own the NFC North, guys. And this draft tonight, it's going to cement our history right now. We're moving forward in the right direction. Finally, as a franchise, I'm invigorated all over again as a Detroit Lions fan. But man, is it nice not to have to face Aaron Rodgers again? I mean, do I have to really bring up the Hail Mary and all the other things that killed us over the last decade? I mean, my goodness, he was just a thorn in our side for 20 years, it seemed like. So, all right, moving on. Andy, before we move on, what do you got to say about that? I mean, tell me, how do you feel now that Aaron Rodgers is gone?
I can probably speak for every single Detroit Lions fan out there. I'm happier than hell. I'm glad that we don't have to face him anymore. I will say, I think this season beating him twice, I think that's a telltale sign of the progress that we've made I think it's a telltale sign of Aaron Rodgers' best days are behind him. I don't care that he's going to the Jets. His attitude, his new demeanor, I'm not into it. He can go and do his whatever natural remedies. I won't get into detail of what I've read that he's doing or what he's bragged about. I think his best days are behind him. Hey, you know what? New York Jets, congratulations. You got him for what it's worth. New York media, hey, you're going to have a few good weeks of some sellouts, but I don't see this as being a good fit. But I'm not going to trail off any more about this thing. I'm going to say, as a Lions fan, I'm glad he's gone. And I'll just say it with a lot of confidence. We own the NFC North. As far as I'm concerned, I think we own the NFC. Back to you, Will. There's my bold prediction.
100%. And again, thanks everybody for the comments and jumping in on the live stream tonight. I know it's only our 5th episode. We're working at getting better. We've had a long few months of trying to put all this together. We're building something special here. It's going to grow, and just keep sticking with us. We're only going to get better. Things are going to be better as far as all the graphics and everything that we're producing. So we appreciate having everybody. You know, you mentioned something, and that was the Jets and the trade and what actually transpired there. I saw a lot of Packers fans thinking they fleeced the Jets, and I don't think that I really agree with that. Yeah, Rodgers is old, and he was going to retire or possibly not play unless he was moved on to a different team. But saying you fleeced the Jets just doesn't make much sense to me. You know, the Jets, they received a first-round pick, or they gave the Packers the first-round pick at number 13, but they got 15 in return. So we'll call that a wash. The Jets sent a 5th-round pick, and the Packers sent a 6th-round pick. So you kind of almost call that a wash. Really, the Packers moved up about 37 spots. What I see here is the Packers received a 2nd round this year and a 2nd that could potentially be a 1st round next year. When you boil it all down, man, look at the Stafford trade. The Lions pulled in 2 firsts, a 3rd, and Jared Goff. That's fleecing the Rams. Sorry. You know, you didn't fleece the Jets here. Good deal. They got some extra picks this season and one for next season, but you didn't fleece anybody. And who knows? What if Aaron Rodgers goes down halfway through the season? He doesn't complete the season. Then they don't get that 1st-round pick next year. They settle with a 2nd. So that's it on the Packers, man. One more time. You know, I just got to say, I got to put it out there. The Packers are denied, man. They're done.
Big time tonight.
All right.
They're done.
So not to recap the whole suspension thing, but it's just a topic that I wanted to touch on. Does it really affect our draft tonight? Thanks again for the comments, guys. Keep them rolling in. I'd love to know what you think on this topic. Do you think that this suspension does anything for the 1st round? From what we know, Brad Holmes, you know, he was, like I said earlier, he was made aware of this probably back in March. You know, when I look at this, I want to identify a few points. The teams that are on the cusp, like the Detroit Lions are, and they're getting ready to, you know, push the division. You know, this could impact the draft for them because they want their star players on the field. I mean, that's what you drafted them for. So losing Jameson Williams just curbed a lot of their process and their game plan moving forward through the first 6 games. So I think it could affect it there, but I also feel like that could affect how they draft early. Depending on how the team is built is my second point. You know, how many picks do they have? What type of depth do they have? How young or old is the roster? Is the team new? Is it a new head coach? Salary cap, how much money you're working with? There's a lot of different things. There's a bevy of different ways that this can screw up a team early. The Lions, you know, like I said earlier, they already lost the redshirt season to Williams. Losing another 6 games is just it's just too much, in my opinion. So those are the few points that I wanted to touch on and how, you know, it really could impact the draft and what a general manager is thinking. All right, how do I replace his lost, you know, potential of production? And that, to me, is the biggest thing that Brad Holmes is going to have to figure out here early in the draft. Is it on the defensive side of the ball? Do you put more pressure on the offense to give, you know, your offense more time? That's one way to look at it. You know, if you put more defense out there, then that kind of curbs the loss of Jameson Williams, but it still doesn't help us on the offensive side of the ball. And whether you like it or not, DJ Shark was out there plenty to help give the Lions an extra edge. He didn't put up a bunch of stats, but he did lead the defenders away from other players like Amon Ra to make plays. All right, so I don't know if you've gotten to all the comments here, but I want to back up to a couple. Kerry Chump feels like the Jets won that deal. We do too. Absolutely. Jeff Addison, in all fairness, most felt that we lost the deal the first year. And you're right, Jeff. We had no idea that the Rams are going to fall flat on their face. And thankfully they did, because it set the tone for us this year to stay in the top 10 again. Aaron K says, Shark played his part very well. He absolutely stepped it up when he came back after injury. That's when he really started to play well. He was a critical producer in the Packers game, the final Packers game as well. He caught that last first down to end the game. What do you got to say on any of this, Andy? Speak your mind here, buddy.
I don't think this affects the draft at all. I'm not concerned about it. I understand the point about Shark. He really, I was very impressed with him. I was shocked that we didn't make more of an effort to get him back, to get him signed. But that, business is business. That's the NFL for you. That's just sports. But I don't worry about this with Jameson being suspended. I'm not going to say that our receiver core that we have now is completely buttoned down. But when I look at the capital we've got in the first round, I don't see any reason at all to try to run to get a receiver. I think 6 games, and you got to look at reality too. Last year, I know we had we had Shark in there who did step it up. But last year, through the first 12 games that we didn't have Jameson, our offense was still unbelievable. It was still a top 5 offense. We did fine. So I don't think this affects the draft. I think people may be making this potentially more of an issue than it really needs to be in terms of the fact that we're losing Jameson for the first 6 games. But I think you still stay the course, and not to jump ahead, the focus still needs to be on our defense. I think all of us agree the defense still has some room for improvement. And I did see one comment here, I think it was in the beginning, but if I'm not mistaken, someone said take Will Anderson. More to that later. That's where I'm at with that one, Will. Will the Thrill, I got my answer to that's very short, just because I'm not going to buy into the thought that Jameson getting the suspension is going to throw this whole draft for a loop. I just don't see it. And you know what? If I'm wrong, I'm going to kick myself in the teeth for it. Well, Will the Thrill, there you go.
I wouldn't kick yourself too hard, man. I mean, Brad Holmes has us all sorts of discombobulated when it comes to the draft plan, and I love it. I love him for it. I'm so happy we get to be wrong, and to me, that it just makes this process that much better, knowing that we're not predictable and we're not, the same old Lions that knew that we were going into the draft taking the same people every single year in and year out. And it did nothing for us. Brad is doing it right. He's building through the trenches. Inside out is the way the game is won. And you're right. We do need a lot of defensive help. We had a top 5 offense last season. I touched on this in a previous episode, but I'm going to go through it again. When I analyzed the last 20 Super Bowls, I looked at the offense and the defense comparisons. Every single Super Bowl winner had either a top 6 offense or a top 10 defense, or both. It was rare that both teams didn't have somebody in the top 10. Most teams had both sides in the top 10 outside of, I think, 2 seasons. So for that to really push the envelope on where the Lions are going to go this season, I think that it's an easy argument. We had a top 5 offense last season. On paper, we're coming back in as a top 5, but now we're missing Jameson Williams to start the season. I think that knocks us back a few rungs. Our defense was darn near dead last season. They made some great strides in the second half, but the offseason is where Brad Holmes kind of set the tone again. And that was going heavy, developing our cornerback room. And it's a room that I coined about 2 months ago as the Den of Doom. Actually, about 45 days ago now. The Den of Doom, man. CJ Gardner-Johnson Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley, used to be Jeff Okuda, used to have CJ Moore, Will Harris, Kirby Joseph, Tracy Walker. I mean, it's an incredibly deep room of defensive backs. So Brad set the tone early. And in our offseason, he made it very clear that he wanted to get impact players. He wanted to get better, that every single position was on the board. It didn't matter. He had conversations with his leader in Jared Goff and said, hey, we need somebody behind you. This room is a little thin. Just letting you know in case we draft somebody or we pick somebody up in free agency. There is nothing better on a football team than competition. When you walk into summer training camp, and you got deep competition, iron sharpens iron, man. They're going to get better. And the weak ones are going to kind of roll off to the side and they're going to get cut at some point or traded or moved on. So Brad and Dan are doing it right. They set the tone early. They want to get better, and they did just that. I'm really excited to see what Cam Sutton is going to bring to the table. I watched a special on him yesterday. And the theme that I got between him and CJ Gardner-Johnson and Emmanuel Mosley is all three of them were very well-spoken individuals, very humble, very courteous, but don't mistake that on the football field because they change. They're a totally different person on the football field. But they met that dynamic that the Lions are looking for. Andy, what do you got to say about our new Den of Doom? Andy, I think you're muted, buddy.
I
There we
apologize.
go.
You are correct. I was muted. I apologize, everyone. The Cam Sutton signing, I was actually very impressed with. I didn't think they were going to go out and grab a defensive back and pay that kind of money, but he's worth the money. I look at the way he played in his past team and everything. He did a great job. Mosley, Gardner-Johnson, great pickups for us. Really good veteran. I actually see a comment here I want to put up. GJ was probably our best free agent pickup. I actually can't agree more. I think out of the three of them, he is definitely the most complete corner. I will agree with you, Will. This Den of Doom, take Okuda out of it because he did fail to impress. I mean, I didn't think he was a horrible corner, but he didn't live up to the hype, to the expectations, especially being a first-round, third overall. I think we do grab a corner deeper into the draft, but if we don't, I think our decent defensive backs are set. I see no issue here.
Awesome. So I just want to remind everybody that tonight's theme, we're already 24 minutes into this. I'm a little behind here. So we have prepared some gift bags. And we've got 2 gift bags that are going to go out to the commenters in our chat here. And the goal is sometime after the first pick, the first round, we're going to draw some names out of a hat, so to speak. We're going to take all the names that are in the comments and the ones that have subscribed to the Rocked On Detroit Lions fan page, not just the Detroit Lions group. They're also going to be entered in for the jersey poll tonight. And that'll be a jersey of whatever player you want. It's just your traditional game-worn jersey through NFL. And it'll be drop shipped to you. The bags, will contact you guys and get your information so that we can ship it out. But we also had a very special donation that came through today by Blue Wagon Vintage. Blue Wagon Vintage is a new store that is going to be launching very soon. It's more or less for your wives and your friends. Got a lot of vintage, rare items, collectibles. You'll be able to see all of that stuff here very soon. But they donated a bunch of grill covers tonight. So we've got, 6, 7, 8 grill covers that we might be giving out. And if we get enough people in the comments, who knows, everybody might get one. But again, we'll get all your information. We're going to do it right. We're going to draw the names. We're going to do it live. So we're not just going to be picking people that we want to win. You're going to win if you leave us a comment, or you're going to have a chance to win. All right. So let's keep motoring along here. 30 minutes away, man. And we're going to be at pick 1 about 34 minutes from now. So maybe we should get into a little bit about who do we feel best fits the Lions? And how do we see this draft kind of shaping up? And I saw a couple of comments a little bit ago, and I'm going to pop this one in. Carrie Crump. I'm having issues seeing him here. Darnell Washington with our first pick in the second round. Interesting. I don't know if that's a little early for Washington or late, to be honest with you. He's an interesting prospect. This guy's like 6'7". He's a monster. Somebody that we need. We definitely need someone on the bigger end for the wide receiving core, and him coming in as a tight end, as a blocking tight end, would really elevate our rushing game as well. Interesting prospect. He's not somebody that I have on my list. Doesn't mean I don't have a tight end. It's just him. Question: do you think the Lions will go after quarterback to back up Goff? So initially, back in December, when I started looking at everything, the Lions were very thin at quarterback. I did not expect them to bring back Sudfeld at all. I still think they're thin at quarterback. Sudfeld's not the answer. If Goff is to go down and we're on the cusp, right? We're 7-8 wins into the season, and we're getting close to getting playoffs. If Sudfeld has to go in, I think the season's probably done, especially if it's more than a couple of games. So, yeah, I think we need a quarterback. I just don't see Brad Holmes doing it at 6. I see him doing it more in the third round. If he really likes somebody, he could potentially pull a Hendon Hooker in the early second round if he slips. I really like Hendon. But I've also been hearing some grumblings that Hendon might go top 5 tonight, which would be very interesting. Definitely would have to be with a team that he can sit for a little bit, because he's still resting up on his ACL. Thoughts on the Lamar Jackson contract? I'm glad you just brought that up, Kerry. I can't say I'm thrilled about it. He got $6 million more guaranteed than Hurts. He doesn't deserve it. I know how Andy feels about it, but here's the interesting point that I'm going to make about it. Why was it done today? Why was it done before the draft? Are they going to trade him? Is he going to be up for trade bait? Is someone going to want to absorb that giant contract now that it's done?
The challenge on the field. And there's
I don't know. Uh-oh. All right, Andy, what do you got?
Well, I'm actually responding to Aaron's comment as well. Don't care about Lamar. We're here for the Lions. I'm going to divvy that up in 2 parts real quick, though. Yeah, now, I don't care about Lamar either. This whole thing with Lamar, this got literally carried on and overbeaten like a dead horse, like the whole Aaron Rodgers thing. I'll tell you another one, too. Will, you and I went back and forth about this one. I got tired of the whole thing, Lamar Jackson, bring him to Detroit. The guy won 1 MVP, and that was when? 2019. I don't care. Let the Ravens pay him. The Ravens are going to pay him now. I kind of agree with you, Will, about the fact that why did he sign now before the draft? Maybe he signed now so he can be traded. Who knows? Bottom line, I don't care. I don't think any other logical Lions fans cares either. I'm just over it. And I'm going to real quick, Carrie, your comment, $52 million guaranteed, but that will affect Goff deal. You know what? Maybe I should care about it. Maybe we should care about it, but Lamar's not going to make it very long in his career. He's a running quarterback. Running quarterbacks I could almost look at as running backs. They don't have the shelf life. They put their body through too much. Is Goff worthy of potentially a $52 million guaranteed a season deal? I think it really depends on who you're asking. He played amazing last year. If he has the kind of season that he had last season for the whole season, next season, sorry, I repeated that quite a bit, and they go deep in the playoffs, I say you do pay him. I'd have no problem with it. Will, back to you. I'm sorry. I went off on a tangent on that one.
No, you're fine. I think I'm having a few technical difficulties over here, to be honest with you. The chimes aren't working. My screen's bouncing around a little bit. I don't know what's going on, but there's probably a lot of people that are on live tonight doing these shows. Maybe Facebook's struggling. So you're absolutely right. Will it affect the Goff deal? Yes and no. Am I okay with it affecting the Goff deal? feel? I am. And here's why. If Goff finishes this season with another stellar season like he did last season, he's only set to make about $26 million in cash this season, but it's about a $31 million cap hit. Same thing for next year. If he was extended after this season for 2 seasons, maybe 3, but let's say 2, and he were to get in the neighborhood of $50 million a year, roughly $40 million a year guaranteed, we'll probably remember. Who wouldn't want Goff for 3 seasons at roughly $136 million over the next 3 seasons, which is roughly $42-43 million a year? Rough numbers in my head, so don't quote me when it's a little off. But Goff is worth every penny of $45 million right now. He's a top 5 quarterback in the league statistically last season. And I threw this out a couple episodes ago. Goff is the only quarterback since 2016. So Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Allen. Okay. He's the only one that is on a level with playoff wins, Super Bowl appearances, records, you name it, stats. He's the only one since 2016 that is in the same level category as those. Nobody's in the same boat as Mahomes. Just make that really clear. And right below him is Burrow. But Goff really is statistically the third best, second best quarterback in the league since 2016. Why wouldn't you? Especially if he's able to manage the offense that Ben Johnson has put together. He works well with everybody on the team. He's not going to get in trouble. He's not going to put his body in the way of harm. He's not running all over the field. I absolutely think that Goff is worth every penny, but I also think they have to draft a quarterback in 2024. I would love to see them somehow find Caleb Williams on their roster, but we'll see what happens this season in college football and see how well he plays. But I do think that they do need to pick somebody up that they can groom, that can sit behind Goff and learn and not just throw him to the wolves. And here's why. And then I'll turn it to you, Andy. So every quarterback again since 2016, besides one, has taken a minimum of 2 seasons to make a playoff. And that playoff was a wild card, and they lost. Lamar Jackson is the only one that made the playoffs in his first season. And I'm doing all this by memory, so I'm pretty positive I'm correct, but there might be one other one that also made it before his second season, but I don't think so. So what that tells me is even if you were to draft a rookie this season, the Lions wouldn't be making the playoffs till 2025. Maybe 2024, but probably 2025. I think we can get there a heck of a lot earlier with Goff, behind center. What do you have to what do you have to say about that, Andy?
Well, again, I don't think you take a quarterback this year. I actually would have to look again. I know Teddy Bridgewater had an offer on the table to come our way to be a backup. I still think that was a smart, or I think that would be a very safe move because he's a veteran quarterback. And I think if Goff does go down, I really firmly believe he could carry the team while Goff was getting better. And yeah, I think if you take a quarterback, I don't care if you took one at 6 in the first round. I don't care if you took one with any pick in the first round. If we take a quarterback, I don't want to go far and say that we're setting ourselves back, but at the same time, you are throwing a wrench in the whole thing. I think you have to go out and sign a veteran backup, or you got to sign a quarterback maybe in the 3rd round, somebody who's got potential, like you said, Will, to be groomed to learn this offense. I don't think you go for the gusto. Yeah. And the reason why is because we all know this. We're in our window now to win. And again, I think if you take a high-level quarterback now and Goff lights it up this season, which I'm going to just say I'm a Goff fanboy. I love Goff, and I think he's going to have a absolutely killer season this year. Then you're going to have to pay him. And what do you do with that pick that you essentially just wasted? I know some would say you keep that high pick of a quarterback because then you get him behind Goff. He trains because, let's not lie. Look what happened to Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers sat behind Favre for 3 seasons, and look how that turned out. I don't want to bring up Rodgers again. I apologize. But he did turn out. He had a great guy to learn from. So you could go the route and say you take a quarterback high, and he's got a good mentor in Goff. I just think our draft assets, have to be set like that. So that's how I feel about not taking a quarterback high in the first round.
So the one thing that I wanted to touch on here is you're right, Carrie. I would expect that Goff would sign for a decent deal, and I'm okay with that. And like I stated earlier, he's worth it because of the type of quarterback that he is and how he's been performing. Even if you were to bring in a rookie, they're still going to get paid about 45 million over the next 4 seasons. You would have Goff under contract still, so you have to pay that unless you somehow trade him away, which I don't think would happen. Um, you would save yourself maybe 10 million a year, 15 tops if you were to take a rookie this year and then find backups behind him if you did get rid of Golf. But the other thing is the salary cap is headed up to about 256 million next season. There's the last report that I saw. So you're gaining another 20 million next year. And the Lions, I mean, after this draft, they're going to have about 42, 44 players signed by next season, heading into the next season with at least 65. And after this whole Jameson deal and the other cap casualties that we just suffered with that whole gambling thing, they're going to be pushing closer to 70, 75 million in cap space next season after the rookies are signed this year and next year. So there'll be plenty of space. If one team can pay Lamar and another team can pay Hurts, the Lions can pay Goff. The Lions are drafting so well, and that's what I wanted to touch on tonight. And then we're going to head into our kind of our mock and kind of who we see fitting the Lions. And then we're going to take a quick break so that we can sit in for the long haul. Roster roulette. It is a game I like to play. It's a game that the GMs like to play. And here's the quick and dirty of it. A really good GM is going to define your roster. What do you need now? What do you need in the next 2 to 3 seasons? And then you kind of categorize it to your most expensive positions, your tier 1 players, if you will. So you know the edge rushers are expensive, D tackles are expensive, quarterbacks are expensive, wide receivers are expensive. So, and I mean, everyone's expensive, but those are the top tier positions. So roster roulette is every 3 seasons. If you got a first round pick this year, in 3 seasons, you're taking another first rounder to get ready to replace that first round pick so that you don't have to bring them back and pay them a max contract in their second deal. That's roster roulette. You live and die through the draft. You bring in free agents like Brad Holmes is doing on 1-year prove-it deals, on very manageable and valuable 2, 3, and 4-year deals. He's doing it perfect, man. He's playing roster roulette like I've never seen anybody before. All right, it's going to be mock draft time here. Let's get into. It's not really a mock draft. We're going to just kind of talk about who we see fit the Lions. And at pick 6, Andy, you're on the clock. Who do you think the Lions should take at pick 6 and why?
Well, we've debated about this back and forth, Will. You know who I'm high on. If he's available, I don't think he will be unless we make some kind of blockbuster trade to trade up to get him. You go for Will Anderson. You put him next to Aiden. You got 2 edge rushers that will make any quarterback, any offensive line have to really rethink how they're going to play against that defense. You've got the defensive backs in the secondary. I feel very short up. You put another edge rusher next to Aiden. Aiden showed a lot of promise and improvement, and I think he's only going to get better. You put a big body like Will Anderson with how fast he is. He actually also, from what I've seen in watching tape, he is a dual threat edge rusher. He can stop the run and he can rush, be a pass rusher. That's who I'm taking at 6. If he's on the board, I'm just going to say I have a feeling Houston or Arizona is going to get their hands on him first. I hope not. That's going to be – you might see me cry if we don't get Will Anderson. Let's just put it that way. That's who I'm taking at 6. And that's my first pick for the Lions. Will, you're on the clock.
Well, I think that if Will Anderson somehow slips to 6, I wouldn't be mad. I think that if you add an impact player like a Will Anderson, opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson, you're right. It's going to spell trouble for any opposing offense out there to have two deadly, outside edge guys coming at you. I just don't think that he's going to be there at 6. And I don't think that the Lions are really going to want to waste all this draft capital to move up. So with that,
challenge on the field.
I'm going to have to throw the challenge flag, my friend.
Whatever, dude.
So again, I'm going back to December. I started grading what the Lions needed, and that was cornerbacks. And then Brad Holmes decided to do what he did. But then I looked at all the contracts and I said, well, wait a second here. We have Cam Sutton and Chase Lucas. And we did at one point have Okudah, but right now we had Cam Sutton and Chase Lucas are the only two corners signed past 2023. Well, that's not good. That means that we're going to have to get more one-year prove-its next year and start all over again in the backfield, unless you're willing to pay CJ Gardner-Johnson $15+ million or Emmanuel Mosley $10+ million, in a multi-year deal. And that could happen, and the Lions could afford it. If they have stellar seasons, maybe that's what they do. But the one thing that really struck a chord with me is Okudah. And why did he struggle? He struggled because when he came in, he didn't have any veterans to learn from. He was on his own. He was on an island, really, by himself. And terrible coaching and a terrible GM. So Okudah was set up to fail. He wasn't set up for success. This regime sets you up for success. So I'm still sticking with a cornerback as the move that makes the most sense. I've been high on Devin Witherspoon since December. When he was the 9th best cornerback rated by PFF. He's now the 1st rated cornerback by PFF. So I'm still high on him, but I'm not taking him. Because of Jameson Williams, I'm taking Bijan Robinson. He's the next game changer. He's going to light it up for the next 4 or 5 seasons. He's going to be somebody that with or without JMO, with or without Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's going to light it up.
And the kick is good.
So that's my pick at 6. I know it's a reach. You can crucify me in the comments, but that's my pick at 6. All right, 18, you're on the clock, Andy. And please send us your comments. Tell us what you think. We're going to get to them here in just a moment. I promise.
Well, believe it or not, I actually just real quick, I will make this very fast. I like Bijan Robinson. I don't dislike your pick. I don't know. I'm just not sold at taking. I just don't think we need to touch the offense. I really don't. I mean, I really hope DeAndre stays healthy. I really do, even though I could see him being taken as trade bait in this draft, maybe if they want to move up. I know he's injury prone, but Montgomery was a fine addition. But I will say I'm 50-50 on the fence about it because, yeah, he is an extremely, extremely very good running back. But believe it or not, my next pick for it would be, I would actually take, if I had to go the quarterback route, I think you'll be shocked to hear this, I would take Hendon Hooker at 18. We really, and you know what? I kind of took a
challenge on the field.
You're going to do this to me with every pick I get, aren't you?
Come on, Hendon Hooker at 18.
I know it's a stretch.
Well, you took Will Anderson, so you got your defense, and I guess, and I didn't mean to interrupt you there, but
no,
I guess I didn't expand upon the whole Bijan thing, and that's because I feel that there is much better value for defensive players later in the round and in the second day. The meat of this draft is between 16 and 40. That is the meat of this draft. That is where all of the best players are going to be. They're going to be starting on day 1. Not to say there's not, 1 through 16, but that's the meat. And that's why I really don't like the fact that the Lions don't have a pick after 18 until 48. To me, that spells trouble. And that's why I've been asking for a trade back. And that's my hope at 18 is that they're going to trade back. But finish your thought, Andy. I'll let you finish your thought there.
And I'm going to probably get crucified in these comments too about Hendon Hooker as well. But I just don't think he's that bad of a pick. I mean, he's got a good arm. He's got a good body. My problem with Hendon Hooker, I worry about the knee, the ACL he's just coming off of. And you've crucified for me this before. Will, is that his age, he's 25. I know that they should be looking younger, but being 25, technically kind of an older rookie quarterback to come in. I just think Hendon Hooker, he could come in. The only issue I have is he is a system quarterback. He knows the Volt system. He could learn Ben Johnson's system too, I think, because that is a system that actually is set for success. I like Hendon Hooker as a backup, but that's a very short-term one as well. But I think for the time being, if we're going to go quarterback route, I go with Hendon Hooker at 18. You're up, buddy.
You know, I'm high on Hendon Hooker. And I'll be flat out honest with everybody. This quarterback class is terrible. There is not one quarterback that I would want other than Hendon Hooker. And I mean, the guy was playing lights out. He was on his way to winning a Heisman until he injured, his ACL last season. He was the only quarterback, in that college to beat Alabama. Peyton Manning couldn't do it, but he did it. So Hendon Hooker, to me, yeah, he's a little older. That just means he's a little bit wiser. He didn't score the greatest on that stupid test that they give these players. Look, if you can ball out, great. If your processing time is a little bit slower, oh, well, if you're winning ball games, it's all that matters, right? There's a lot of quarterbacks that aren't that bright, but they can play ball. So there's just I'm not real excited about this quarterback draft class. I've always said from day one that CJ Stroud is probably the most well put together quarterback in this class. His size, his arm, just his talent, his overall preparation, being a pro ready offense. And then there was Hendon Hooker. If Hendon Hooker was not injured, he would have been a top 5 pick in this draft. And he still might be from what I'm hearing. I would be shocked because to me, he's a day 2 guy. And if he's there on day 2 and I'm Brad Holmes, I'm taking him. But on 18, so if the Lions passed on Devin Witherspoon, I'd be heartbroken. If they took Bijan Robinson at 6, I wouldn't mind. But at 18, see, that's where I'm ready to go edge or DT. Okay. The draft is going to get deep real in a hurry right here at 18. So if Miles Murphy is there at 18, it's a no-brainer. You take him, you stick him on the edge. I think you're going to get very similar gameplay to Will Anderson. He's not a Will Anderson, but in the right system, with the right scheme, the right fit, anybody that has talent like a Miles Murphy or a Will Anderson, they're going to produce. But this is where it's going to get interesting to me because I'd much rather see the Lions trade back from 18. My trade scenarios have been heavy here with 18 because of the fact that the draft gets real deep between 18 and 46-ish. 18 and 40, and the Lions don't pick again till 48. If the Lions can trade off of 18 and stay between 26 and 32, my pick at 18 would be a trade back to take Mozzie Smith. That's why I'm not taking defense at 6, because I feel that Mozzie Smith is the best defensive tackle in this class. And no, I am not a U of M guy. I promise you. I bleed green and white. Uh-oh, they all left. Look at them all go. I promise. I am a Spartan. So, for me to and Andy's a U of M guy. So it's okay.
We're gonna leave that out of this conversation.
So if I'm saying that I like Mozzie Smith, there's a reason for it. He's on Bruce Feldman's freak list for a reason. He benches 325 for fun. At the combine, they do 225 in the for the reps. The guy just crushes it. He cleans stairs like it's nobody's business. The guy's quick on his feet at 320 plus pounds. He's got great arm length. He pushes the pocket. He's got tenacity for days, and he's relentless in his pursuit. When I watch him get off the ball, his first step is incredibly quick. When I watch Jalen Carter get off the ball, it's not so quick. Mozzie gets in on as many plays as possible. Jalen Carter took off 25% of the plays, or 40% of the plays, missed 25% of the games. Jalen Carter had to be forced to practice. Mozzie Smith showed up early and left late. So to me, Mozzie Smith's the guy that the Lions need to transform this defense. It's just too early to grab at 18, but again, taking a page out of Brad Holmes' book, you play the draft to get the picks and the guys that you want, right? The guys that you need, the guys that are going to change your team. It doesn't matter where you pick them as long as you get them. The only thing that's going to matter is how much bigger their contract is for a reach. So Mozzie Smith at 18, hopefully via a trade back, adding some additional draft capital so the Lions can get a little bit more loose with it in the second round. All right, quickly moving on to 48. We got about 9 minutes before the draft here, guys. First pick will probably be taken right around 8-10, I assume. It just all depends on how quickly Goodell gets up to the podium and starts the draft. I'm sure you guys are all watching it at home too. We're going to ring the bell. We're going to discuss every pick live and how they fit the team. We'll go over a little bit of stats and some information that we prepared, and we'll see how well it goes. So the betting odds here is Brad Holmes going to turn his pick in less than 3 minutes, like he did the last 2 years. It really burns Goodell up. I think it's hilarious. All right, number 48. You're on the clock.
Well, number 48, again, I'm high on taking defense still. I really actually believe that a lot of my picks so far I'm going to probably get crucified for, whether it's on the show by Will or whoever else. I'm taking, if we're going to go defensive back, corner, whatever, I'm taking Joey Porter Jr. He's got infinite upside with his ability. He's an instinctual playmaker. He's got those arms that are length. He can just badger opponents, and he wins at the catch point. He can take on receivers at the best of them. I think he would accent and fill that. I don't want to say fill the void of Okudah, because I think Joey Porter's a better defensive back than Okudah, but I think he could accent Mosley, CJ Gardner-Johnson, and Sutton very well. Again, guys, I'm very high on defense for this team. I see no reason why Joey Porter, I think he would be available by the time we hit 48. That would be my pick. Crucify me all you want. I'm very bent on defense again. I see no issue with taking Joey Porter. I like the kid. I think he's a really nice player, nice on the defense.
So I'm not going to crucify you for the pick, other than Joey Porter is going to be gone in the top 20. He won't make it to 48. But I do like the direction there. For me, I had 3 positions slotted at 48. Because again, at 48, it gets deep here for other reasons. And the Lions, so if they did take the running back and then they took the defensive tackle, they could go either way right here. They could take another defensive tackle. They could take a linebacker. They could take an edge guy. At 48, there's plenty available. You could get Zach Charbonnet here and not take Bijan at 6. And load up on defense early, taking Witherspoon at 6. You could potentially take Drew Sanders here at 48 and help out the linebacking core. You could take Trenton Simpson here at 48 or 55, probably 48. But my pick, if they went Bijan and then something with defense at 18 via trade back like a Mozzie Smith or a Miles Murphy, I think the Lions stick with the trenches here. And I think they take guard Steve Avila, which helps bolster this offensive line, giving their new running back some hope, clearing out the bottom 6, guys that we have on the roster. The Lions need a major upgrade at the right guard spot. Evan Brown left in free agency. So I think it only makes sense here, but I also like I like Mafi late. Mafi sometime in the, late 4th, early 5th round if he makes it that far. But I don't think that he's going to be a starter right away or starter quality for a couple of seasons. And I don't think the Lions really want a project here on the offensive line. This offensive line is too good to bring in another project. All right, so we'll get to number 55 here. Andy, who do you got?
Number 55. This one will probably be looked at with squinty eyes. I'm going with, actually, Darnell Wright. Offensive player. I've seen some tape on this guy. He's got a monster.
What is he?
He's an offensive tackle.
Offensive tackle.
Now offensive lineman. Now I like him because the times I saw him play, he's got the ability to where he is a supporter of running backs. He moves players out of the way for running backs to get through and get a good power run in there. He's not afraid to throw that weight around either. He's a bulldozer, and he's got that fight in him. He never, ever quits playing until the play is over. I think he's a great pass protector. He's great for the run game. And I think he's just going to shore up. The offense doesn't need any really shoring up on the line, but I think you beef it up that last little bit. If you get a guy like Darnell Wright, I really like this kid. I think he'd be a fine addition to the offensive line. If we go with offense, I don't see the Lions taking anybody on the offensive line, but I think he could be a good addition. Not much of a project. He adapts very well to any situation he's in. That's who I like.
Yeah, I see the Lions definitely taking someone on the offensive line, whether it's at 48 or 55 or even in the 5th round. So my pick here, if they went with Steve Avila at 48, the other guy that I would take at 48 or 55 is Joe Tippmann. And he's somebody that is really intriguing to me. He's a center. We need somebody to back up Ragnow. He's getting beat up. Ragnow's been getting beat up the last 2 seasons. But Tippmann also plays guard as well. And Brad Holmes really loves versatility. So if it wasn't Steve Avila at 48 and they ended up taking a Trenton Simpson or a Drew Sanders and locked up the linebacker spot at 48, then I would go with Joe Tippmann here at 55. But since I already took Avila at 48, if Hendon Hooker's available at 55, I don't know that he's going to make it that far. But that's where I slotted Hendon Hooker. I just don't think he makes it that far. But Hendon Hooker's who I would take at 55 because they would have addressed at least the trenches on both sides of the ball and an offensive threat by now. And I would be okay with Hendon Hooker. And if they really did trade back off 18 and gain some draft capital, then it only makes sense to burn a pick here and get somebody that can help out Jared Goff in the event that he goes down. All right, pick 81, and then we're going to end it with 81. We're going to take a quick break, guys, and then we're going to jump right back in here. We've got a few minutes.
Pick 81, my last pick, my last crucifixion probably for this mock draft, if available, which he will not be, and you did mention his name. If I'm going to take a running back, I like Zach Charbonnet. He was a Michigan product, now UCLA product. He's a power running back. Another running back that he will just keep going. I've seen him drag players along with him 4 or 5 at a time. Watch the tape. He's got a 4.5 second 40-yard dash, good vertical jump, good versatility. He's got great breakaway speed. He's a dual threat. I've seen him. He can make passes and run routes like a wide receiver. He's another one that I've always, and yes, let's go I'm a Michigan fan route. When I watched him with the Wolverines, he was actually one of my favorite players on the team. I hated to see him transfer and go to UCLA, but I knew they were going to get a good product too. So if he falls that far in the draft, which he won't, but if he did, I'd be all for taking Zach Charbonnet. Really, really nice running back, nice player.
All right. So my pick at 81 is going back to defense. And like I said earlier, this draft gets really deep on defense. Later on, and I like 2 players here, and I wouldn't mind having them both, to be honest with you. Defense does win championships, absolutely, 100% it does, and so does offense. But right now the Lions are missing defense, so I really like Kobe Turner and Carl Brooks. I think that between the 2 of them, if the Lions were to snag both of those guys somehow, they're going to be game changers in a hurry. I think they're highly underrated as edge rushers and defensive tackles. They've got the size to play both. They can play inside out. They can play 2-3 technique without any issues at all. So those are my picks at 81. The one thing that I'm going to say about Voorhees, John, is I've seen Voorhees sliding all the way down out of the 3rd round. And you're absolutely right. Voorhees, yeah, he does have I think an ACL. He's somebody that I would definitely take a late pick on. If he's there in the 4th, I would take him in the 4th. Voorhees was my guy before he got hurt, but obviously injuries they offer setbacks. Go through a couple of comments real quick. Greg, what about Noah Sewell's brother? He's going to be there late 4th, early 5th, from what I've seen. So we only went through the top 5 picks, top 81. But it's showtime, guys. Laporta, he is my favorite. Yes. And Laporta, I would take him at 48 because he's not going to be there much long after that. But that's what we got for our first hour of the live show. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to put a little music on. It's got some highlights from the season. And then we're going to come right back and we're going to get into these picks. Hopefully we'll be back before the first pick is taken. All right, it's NFL draft time, guys. Thanks for joining the live show. We're going to be right back. Don't go anywhere. Stick around.
What will Ben Johnson dial up to try to keep this drive going and kill this clock, win this game, and get out of here? Panay Sewell is reported as eligible, so they have 6 offensive linemen in the game. Goff to throw. Wants to throw it to Sewell. He caught it. Panay Sewell on a first down. Oh, the big man dives down to the 31-yard line. Oh, that is beautiful. Ben Johnson, you are my